If you've ever
show, a lot of concerned parents have messaged me about this Huggy Wuggy. I know people were talking about it on the website even a few months ago, I believe it was, and now it's making headlines again, and I need to cover it because parents need to be aware of this type of garbage. You would think that we live in a world where you don't need to be told about certain things to, what's good and what's bad for your kids to watch, but as everything is filtered in this world into this left, right, right from wrong really is what it is, because the people who support this, politically, they try to make excuses as to why stuff like this is okay. And everybody should be on the same page that filth and garbage like this should not be shown to kids. Now, I'm going to show you some clips from this. And of course, we have Snoops and we have these other media outlets that they try to debunk what this game is, what this thing is that kids are playing called Huggy Wuggy. And I'm going to show you what it's really about, because this is about trauma-based mind control. They don't need to do this the ways that the occult used to do trauma-based mind control to children. They use the media now to do it. Hell, we've just been under a 2-year experimentation of psychological operations. Look what it's done, the damage that it's done to people, what they've caused in this world and done to people mentally. There are people who are afraid to walk out of their home. There are people who are wearing masks in their own house. Have you seen the people? You drive by anybody who's wearing a mask in their car? Yeah, that's called a psychological operation. And this, what they're doing with kids, is sickening. Now, I'm going to show you a couple clips here from some of these things are, music videos. People make songs based on the video game, and then other people come out with stuff and they talk about, hey, it wasn't even really from the thing. Somebody made it up. But the premise of the game is disturbing and it's traumatic as you get chased by this demon, which it clearly is, with razor sharp teeth. And of course, you have this thing telling kids that they should kill their parents. So the police in the UK have issued a warning to parents about this. And again, these are the things that trend on TikTok. They're the things that trend on YouTube. And people seem to be okay with that. Yet when people impose their right to free speech, like someone, say like myself, people are okay with censoring, defunding, canceling. But this kind of garbage, because these people are so warped in their brain, they think it's okay for kids. Take a look at some clips from this.
Guess you don't need the guided tour. Here, take the key, you're gonna need all the help for what you have in store. I'll meet you on the factory floor. Switch on the power, I shout about Killer Hawk since 1984. Hear a sound, turn around and you'll see me. You will see me. I'm in the dark, let the horror start. I'll chase you with these razor teeth. Happy face, but I'll chase, it's time to scream. It's time to scream. Wanna hold you tight, no need to fight. Bring it in for an extra special squeeze. Run. Hide. Conveyor belts on rubber shelves, but no one always right behind. I'm reaching out, these arms are mine. I think it's time that we both are. Let's hug, chase and I'll climb. Hockey walk, cause it's always playtime. Arms stretched out wide, these teeth prime. Hockey walk, hug and tight, you're all mine.
So if you don't think that that's disturbing in general, obviously something's wrong with you. But we live in a world where there's a lot of sick people. There are a lot of people who look at children, like I've told you guys for years, that they were going to start adulting kids. What it does is it desensitizes people from caring about kids. We have these people who are so warped that think they're educationally gifted and they're so smart, even though people like me and you who know exactly what this world and this mind control is about. Most of us have college degrees. They're pretty worthless. But these people think that they're educated and they believe that, well, we've advanced and kids aren't, they're so much smarter than they used to be. And they think that showing kids garbage like this is okay. And it's not okay. It's sick. So police and schools in England have reportedly warned parents about videos on a dark character that their children may be watching without their knowledge. Huggy Wuggy, a character in 2021 horror video game Poppy Playtime, but the character has been starring in popular fan videos across TikTok and YouTube. The character appears to escape parents' attention, who assume nothing sinister from the name. One popular YouTube edit even features the character in a scene from children's TV show Peppa Pig, whatever that is. So one of the things, too, that they've done over the years is they've taken demonically sick ideas and they've put them in anime, put them in cartoons. I've always warned about that. You might remember when I first started my channel, they had that satanic dog. Adult Swim had a cartoon about a dog that was committing ritual sacrifice, right? I actually remember that I got a manual strike from the people who created the show to take my video down, exposing it. And, we see this stuff all the time now with these shows. The guy who makes Ricky and Morty, right? I've covered him on my website. If you haven't seen the video about him and his disturbing baby videos that he's posted before his show became real big, his cartoon, where he literally takes dolls of babies and does disgusting acts with them. And this guy is, pushed in the mainstream. I wonder why. But, they use these cartoon characters and so that parents don't realize what their kids are actually watching. They see a cartoon, they automatically think, oh, it's a cartoon, it's innocent, it's like Disney. And that is how they've been getting away with this for a long time. If you remember when I first also started my channel, I interviewed a former Satanist, a former satanic priest who converted to Christianity. He talked about how he was groomed as a kid, and he was groomed with cartoons. They use cartoons to groom. Just like I say, these other things are gateways, like Dungeons and Dragons, and people think I'm insane. Now, this is important if you're still listening. Hopefully you are. I'm going to show you this PDF file because this is something that I have used all the time since I've been on YouTube. I've used it before that. This is a police document, okay? This is like when the police actually, did their job where they weren't fully infiltrated by the occult. And it's called Satanic Cult Awareness, and it's a long document which you can find, if I remember, I'll pin it below. I've usually done that in the past. And it talks about forms and variations of mind control for trauma-based mind control. So trauma-based mind control is what you're seeing in this game. They're causing trauma where everyone's like, oh, it's not traumatic. They think, they have to... They have to be affected themselves to actually understand what trauma-based mind control is, apparently, because everybody thinks everything's a big joke, and they think you could show and expose kids to this kind of garbage, and it's okay, and it's not okay. It's not. So these are some of the techniques that the occult uses, and tell me if you saw any of those techniques in that little clip that I played. Isolation, okay? What do you think video games do? These people who I make fun of on the internet, who have channels and stuff, and then they talk about conspiracies like they have a clue. They're just isolated in their little bubbles in video game, world, where they sit around in their underwear playing video games all day long. They're isolated from society. This is what they're getting kids to do. If you've noticed, kids are isolated. They walk around on their devices. That is not normal. Not interacting with other people is not normal. But they tell you, well, it's just the way it is now. Kids are on devices, so they don't play sports or they don't interact with other kids. They don't have friends. They have friends online. And that's a problem. So isolation, the loss of reality induced by physical separation from society and rational references. This is number one, isolation on the list of trauma-based mind control techniques. Hypnosis, a state of high suggestibility induced by hypnosis, often thinly disguised as meditation. That's another thing that games bring on, is a form of hypnosis, because kids start playing these games and thinking that this is reality. Okay? That's a fact. We know that. And then, look, if you're somebody out there who's 30, 40 years old and you play video games, I'm not saying that maybe it's yours, but we also know there's plenty of adults that sit around playing Call of Duty and these things, and it becomes a part of their lives. I've heard, women and stuff talk about, like, their boyfriends that sit around playing video games day and night, and like it becomes their life playing these games. Well, think about what it does to a young kid. They start thinking that this is reality because they don't have a reality. They're isolated and they're under hypnosis. Number 3 on this list, peer group pressure, suppression of doubt and resistance to new ideas achieved by exploiting the natural need to belong, right? We see that in our society, not necessarily the game, but love bombing. This is one of the big ones. This is why I'm covering this here. Love bombing. Sense of family and belonging contrived through hugging, kissing, touching, and flattery. So the character that you saw in that trailer, in that clip, this big blue demon, is constantly hugging and talking about hugging me forever. I'm going to hug you till you pop. These are some of the quotes. This is love bombing. This is a form of trauma-based mind control and manipulation, manipulating a child's perspective on life. They start thinking that this is reality. And people are like, no, they don't. They still walk around and they go around their house. Okay. Understandable, but when they're spending 10 hours of their day in video game land, that's where they want to be forever. They want to continually go and play video games. They want to stay away from their parents and stay away from other kids. This is what they're creating, and they're using trauma, right? Is this the type of game that kids are, oh, this is so much fun. Their thing is jumping out of ceiling vents, scaring the crap out of people. I mean, it's pretty creepy, even for someone my age seeing that. It's pretty creepy. I mean, I would never play something like that, but it's pretty freaky. If you imagine being 5 years old and seeing that, I guarantee you it would cause trauma. When I'm a kid, what are some things that would make, horror movies, right? We've all seen horror movies like Freddy Krueger when you were like 5, 10 years old, probably had nightmares about it, or Michael Myers or things like that. Well, this is trauma-based mind control, trauma-based characters on steroids because they're cartoons and they're doing things like literally just jumping through walls. And these people are in the video game. They're immersed in the game. And this is their perception, right? Remember I talked about Pokemon Go, where they were trying to blur the lines between reality and what the gaming world is? That's where we're headed with the metaverse and everything else that we see going on with technology. So in other words, people are playing their devices and they're seeing the actual real world around them with cartoon anime things placed inside their reality, right? The same thing goes with the way video games are now. So these are just a few of them. Removal of privacy is another one form of mind control. Loss of ability to evaluate logically achieved by preventing private contemplation. That's, of course, just another thing in our world that we see with privacy as I read through some of these. Sleep deprivation and fatigue, disorientation and vulnerability created by prolonged mental and physical activity, and withholding adequate rest and sleep, which, of course, could be something else caused by gaming. Then they even have gaming itself, need for direction when playing games with obscure rules, increases dependence on a group, meta communication, subliminal messages implanted by stressing certain keywords or phrases in long, confusing lectures, which, again, a game like this, the character says all this weird stuff. He talks about 1984. If you didn't see some of the stuff, I mean, the character's talking about 1984. Yeah, nothing going on there. They just picked that date randomly, of course. Confusing doctrine, rejection of old values. I mean, there's so many things. Chanting and singing, which is another thing. He was singing a song about, killing parents, and some people said, well, that was an edited thing that somebody put together to show their kids, and it wasn't really part of the game and stuff like that. But it's out there and it's floating around, and kids are seeing it. It's getting billions of views. So if somebody made it in their basement and used the video game as the backdrop, it's still a problem that we live in a society where they want to talk about regulating internet content, and they're more concerned about people like me and you talking about what's falling from the sky than they are about showing 5-year-olds this traumatic garbage. That's how sick and inverted this world has come. So some of the other stuff in there is, distress, replacement of relationships, pre-cult families destroyed by arranging cult marriages and families, destroying the actual family, and other things in there that are forms of trauma-based mind control. But you can see from this game, it doesn't take somebody who's a Christian to. I mean, that's the thing. They always try to turn this into a conspiracy, or Christian parents are being overly dramatic. I mean, this is the stuff I'm reading, and I'm like, really? What kind of parents? I mean, these people are so just mentally deprived of reality. They literally see this stuff and they're like, it's funny, and everything's a big joke to them until the kid grows up messed up. And then instead of taking responsibility for letting their kid watch and participate in these types of things, they just point a finger at people like me and you. Oh, because of them, they didn't take the magic potion, so my kid's all messed up. What? Huh? Your kid is a product of his environment and what he's around and what he watches. Their brains absorb this stuff like a sponge. And that's why it's important to protect children from this filth. And that's why the police in the UK put a warning out to parents about it, because everyone's creeped out about it, except I guess people who identify as extreme liberals who think it's funny and it's cute because, well, they hate children. And we've already learned that, right? They're more interested in grooming them. And what do you think a game like this does? It grooms in different ways. Trauma-based mind control is a real thing. And I don't like when people throw the term around trauma-based mind control, because it's very serious. And there's people who have been victimized by this, whether they grew up in occult families or had other situations surrounding the occult, whether they were in it themselves. It's a real thing. And they do this to kids, and it messes them up for the rest of their lives. And there's a lot of people who listen to my channel who have been victims of it. There's people who are on the website who have been victims of it. And the Satanists go out of their way to humiliate these people because they know that these people who are victims of it are weak and vulnerable. And the Satanists love to attack and go after weak people. That's how they operate. They're sick. They're demented and they're twisted. So keep your kids away from this type of garbage. I wanted to cover it for you. I wanted to show you just some of how this is a form of trauma-based mind control. And they use games now and all this stuff, these technology, the apps, to push trauma on kids. These are traumatic things. Running around having a blue demon fall from the sky saying he's going to eat you with his razor-sharp teeth. And people are just like, it's just a game. It's just a game, right? It's just a game until somebody actually follows what the character does, right? Like when the character's, in some of these videos is telling the kids to go do this to their parents and their families, and then the kid actually goes and does it. What's going to happen next? Oh, the people who supported the game will say, well, that's just an isolated incident, because we already see. We can see it from our own fake government. how they want people to act and behave, and that's by taking no responsibility and no accountability for anything, ever. And everything's a big joke. Well, it won't be a joke when things actually go down. That's for sure.